Hi there. Welcome back to Professor Snyder's Music Biz News. Last summer, 2025, I did a podcast about Anthropic and how Anthropic was being sued by authors of books, book publishers, and in a separate case, music publishers. And if you would like to go into more detail on how all of this began, I recommend that you go back and watch that podcast. I'll have a link to it in the comments as well as at the end of this video. But I'll repeat some of the high points here. Beginning in 2023, there were two lawsuits against Anthropic, both dealing with printed material. It had downloaded millions of files to train its AI, Claude. Anthropic torrented 5 million files from the pirate online library LibGen, 2 million files from the pirate library mirror PyLimi, or PLimi, and nearly 200,000 records in the Books 3 collection. Anthropic also purchased books to scan, literature to scan, printed materials to scan. One of the plaintiffs consisted of 3 authors and book publishers. They sued Anthropic for violating copyright for using their books to train Claude. Meanwhile, music publishers, Concord, APCO, and Universal Music Group also sued Anthropic, claiming they had also downloaded and used lyrics, printed music, etc., to train Claude, not just books. Anthropic not only illegally downloaded copyrighted music lyrics, it also uploaded them to other users, music publishers alleged in a new court filing. They alleged that its Claude chatbot regurgitated copyrighted lyrics, indicating the company had trained the chatbot on those lyrics without permission. In other words, copyright infringement. This lawsuit, the music one, wasn't as well publicized in music circles. It was overshadowed by the labels that at the same time were suing Suno and Udio for doing the same thing with audio recordings. Those cases attracted much more attention since people were using Suno and Udio to massively create music, using those recordings without the copyright owners being paid. And we all know that both those cases have pretty well been settled. Udio is now part of Universal Music Group, and Suno has settled with Warner and some of the other companies. But back to the book case. In the first case, there was one decision by the judge that really scared everybody who was interested in copyright. U.S. District Judge William Alsop ruled that the company's practice of buying physical books, scanning them, and using the text to train its AI was transformative. Anthropic wasn't simply making digital copies to sell the actual copies themselves. In his ruling, Judge Alsop wrote that the models were not trained to replicate or supplant the books, but rather to turn a hard corner and create something different. The company purchased used books, stripped their bindings, cut their pages, fed them into scanners before tossing the paper originals. Because the company legally acquired the books, and the judge saw that AI's learning process as transformative, that method held up in court. It provides a legal precedent suggesting that legally acquired data could be used for transformative AI training. So the scary idea was as long as a physical copy of a record was purchased, it was okay to train AI with it. The book publishers settled. Anthropic has already agreed to pay $1.5 billion to a group of authors in a separate settlement over the use of pirated books to train its AI models. But the music publishers weren't as fortunate. The court's decision to deny a preliminary injunction that would have prevented Anthropic from using copyrighted lyrics to train its AI models has far-reaching implications for both AI companies and content creators. The music publishers noticed that in the book case that was settled for $1.5 billion, Anthropic had admitted it used BitTorrent to download the books, something they left out of discovery in the music case. Now the music publishers additionally alleged that Anthropic hid the fact that it used BitTorrent to pirate copyrighted material. Inexplicably, Anthropic never disclosed to publishers in this case that it had used BitTorrent to copy books containing their works from pirate sites in this manner, despite publishers' discovery requests calling for exactly this type of information. The music publishers then amended their claim to include BitTorrent, but the judge denied it because it was so close to the end. The publishers previously attempted to add these piracy claims to their original lawsuit, but the judge denied that motion in October 2025. At that time, Anthropic argued that the proposed amendment was an improper attempt to fundamentally transform this case at the 11th hour. So as a result of that case being pretty well dismissed, the publishers have now filed this separate action to pursue the torrenting claims. But where the earlier case focused on how the company trains its models, the new one centers on a newly emerging legal weakness for AI firms, the alleged use of pirate libraries as part of that training. So last week, there was these announcements. Universal Music Group sues Anthropic again, seeking $3 billion over pirated songs and AI training. Blatant theft. UMG sues Anthropic for $3 billion over brazen copyright infringement of 20,000 plus songs. Potentially the biggest copyright case in U.S. history. A coalition including UMG and Concord claims Anthropic engaged in mass-scale piracy to train its AI models. The original lawsuit, that lawsuit only covered around 500 works compared to 20,000 now, with potential damages of about $75 million compared to the $3 billion they're asking for now. Anthropic probably wishes it had settled back then. So how did they come up with $3 billion? Statutory damages for this kind of piracy starts at $750 per infringed work, according to U.S. copyright law. Because the library of books amassed by Anthropic was thought to contain approximately 7 million works, the AI company was potentially facing court-imposed penalties amounting to billions, possibly more than $1 trillion. And if the court found that Anthropic liable for willful infringement, meaning it knowingly broke the law, the company could be hit with statutory damages of up to $150,000 per infringed work. So Anthropic was and is staring at the risk of statutory damages in doomsday amounts. I assume there would be a settled amount like Anthropic did with the book publishers. And that was $1.5 billion. And as I noted in the earlier podcasts, we don't hear this aspect much in the news. Multiple book authors in the class action lawsuit by the book people who had no idea their books were illegally copied are being notified now that they are in the winning camp and can expect to be paid. That was after Anthropic had settled with the book people. Will the record publishers, assuming they also win, keep the money? Or will they do the same as the book people did and notify songwriters and composers who might not even know they could be owed some compensation? And will they require them then to apply for a piece of the pie? Assuming the labels win, it will be interesting to see how much someone who has one album with lyrics will be paid. And then, of course, a lot of songs have multiple writers that is split. And don't forget their publishers also keep half before it ever makes it to the songwriters. And before you lyricists out there get too excited, don't forget the lawyers are going to take a pretty big cut of whatever amount they settle on. And the government is going to take a really big cut in taxes. We'll see how much actually trickles down to the actual songwriters and lyricists. Meanwhile, Anthropic's valuation has also surged dramatically since the first lawsuit was filed. In October 2023, the company was valued at approximately $5 billion. According to today's complaint, Anthropic is now valued at approximately $350 billion, a 70-fold increase. So Anthropic obviously has the money. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this shakes out. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Bye.